so we're going to start at 6.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome, and everyone that's sitting move up. We
ain't going to bite you.
I think the principal should have to sit in the front row.
What's that mean you do now? You ain't told us you.
See, he's the principal. I will.
You don't want me
Yeah. Okay. Welcome, everyone here. This is the Tri-City NAACP Old South Public Forum, and we're located at 1184 Beaches Street. And we, as Tri-City, really the NAACP, like to have everyone enlightened and know what the candidates, national and local, are standing for. So we invited you here to hear and to ask questions. So enjoy this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're waiting for our timekeeper with the bell and the clock. They're on their way. But in the interim, they'll still get started. My name is Louis Ward, and I'm going to be moderating this event. And it's going to be, you should have all got an email early this morning that explained to you, we're going to give you 1.5 minutes to introduce yourselves, and then we're going to give you another 1.5 minutes at the end to do the closing. Each question, we're going to give you a minute. Okay, because we got to be out of here at 7:30 sharp. Not 7:35, 7:32, but 7:30. And the lady over there responds, she's from the Black Caucus. We know we meet in here, and they want you out. Okay, so we're gonna abide by that. We're just gonna ask that everybody be fair. You know, as soon as the timekeeper comes, we'll use the time clock, and until then, this is how we're gonna work it. Who would like to volunteer to keep the time from their watch? Okay, we got it. Okay, we got Ms. Betty Leesburg from the NAACP. So what we're going to do is we're going to give each candidate 1.5 minutes. We're still waiting for people, but we can't afford to wait until they get here because of the time constraint. So we're going to get started like we said we will. So we're going to give you 1.5 minutes. When the minute is up, someone's going to stand up and flash a card. That person's not here. So our illustrious president, Ms. Sandy Jones on the NAACP, she'll stand up and wave. Timekeepers are here. Here they go. Come on. Come right in. That's our timekeeper, Ms. Gwen Manning and Ms. Bobby Lucas, both members of the NAACP. So at this point, we're going to get started with the introductions. Okay, now I know you're worried about which side we're going to start from, this side or that side. I'm going to do it like this. Ms. Lowe, introduce yourself, please.
Yes, sir.
1.5 minutes. As soon as she starts speaking, clock goes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Twee Lowe. I am a candidate for Lake County School Board. I am running against Ms. Debbie Steinander for District 4. District 4 encompasses the Mountain Dora, Tavares, and Sorrento area. However, it is a countywide election. I was born in Vietnam. I grew up in Orlando, and I graduated from UCF with a bachelor's in business marketing. For a number of years, I have owned and operated a ground emergency medical transportation service in the Orlando area. In the last 9 years, I have been very involved in our district school system because of my 2 boys. When my boys moved up to the middle school, I accumulated about 1,200 hours per year as volunteer. So I have had the opportunity to work with our school system. I work with our administrators, our teachers, our parents, our students, and the community. So I do understand how the schools are run, the problems they face, and the opportunities for improvement. One of my biggest passions is quality of education. And I hope to have the opportunity here in a few minutes to talk to you about my platform. But in the meantime, remember, my name is Twee Lowe. Vote for me on November 6th.
Thank you, Ms. Lowe. Can we have Ms. Rosenberg next? I'm sorry, Roseanne Brandenburg. I'm sorry.
You know what? That happens quite often. Good evening. My My name is Roseanne Brandenburg, and thank you for this opportunity. I was honored to be elected 4 years ago to Lake County School Board District 2, and I ask that you allow me to serve another 4 years. This year, I am the chairman of the Lake County School Board. A little about myself: I have a master's degree in business administration from Nova University and a bachelor's degree in public relations from the University of Florida. I was one of only 4 school board members elected in 2008 to complete over 96 hours to become a certified school board member. And I am very proud of that, because once you become a school board member, there's so much for you to learn, including policy making, financials, board development, collective bargaining, and so much more. I'm the proud mom of a 17-year-old son, Tyler, who is now a senior at Leesburg High School. He has gone through the Lake County school system, starting off at the Villages Elementary of Lady Lake. I was on the PTO all 6 years. In elementary, PTO president for 2. Carver Middle School, I was PTO president for 2 of the 3 years. And at Leesburg High School, I've served on the school advisory committee for the past 4 years. I am also the executive director for the foundation at Lake Sumter Community College, where I have been for the past 11 years. I manage, I manage over $12 million budget, and I manage a staff of 4. So my name is Roseanne Brandenburg, and I would love to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, sir. I'm Jim Miller. I am running for School Board District 2 also. I'm currently the District 1 representative. I resigned my seat to run in the District 2 race. One of the issues has been uniform dress. I am the one who's been pushing for it for 2 years, and we have not had it. I learned about Osceola. It changes the culture of the schools. Osceola made all their kids go to uniform dress. I'm not talking sweater vests and ties, we're talking jeans and a polo shirt. That had a huge cultural impact on their high schools. And their high schools, even though they didn't do as well as we did on FCAT, high school grades, FCAT's only 50% of the grade. Their first year, the year before uniforms, they had 9 schools, they had 6 D high schools. 3 years afterwards, when they had 10 high schools, their high school grades were 8 A's and 2 B's. Meanwhile, Lake County was 4 B's, 2 C's, and a D. So it doesn't make them smarter, but it changes the culture of the school. You're here to work. It levels the playing field for the kids that don't have as much. They're dressed the same as others. So, and it also takes from 30 seconds. The other issue that I'm really strong about is we have some old schools, and we really need to remodel some of them, but they can wait until we get that penny tax renewed. And in the meantime, we need to be spending money on technology. That's how kids learn today. You've seen a kid with a 3 or 4-year-old with an iPad or an iPhone. They know what to do with those things, and then we hand them pencil and paper and go, what's this? To me, it's like us being, when we went to school, we had paper and pencil, and that's all there was, saying, okay, get out your stone tablets, we're going to give you a hammer and chisel.
Thank you. Ms. Stuyvesant.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and you only get a minute and a half to say who you are. Most of you know who I am. I have been around for quite a while. I was on the county commission prior to being on the school board, and you elected me for that seat 4 years ago. I have 4 children, 6 grandchildren. The 4 children went through the Lake County Public Schools. 2 of them went to college, 2 of them went to trade school. So I know the difference between which kids need to be ready for college and which ones need to be ready for a trade so that they can get a job as soon as they get out of school. I do want to make sure that, in case you don't go to the back, I do have flyers. And Cheryl Thomas, who was a candidate on our race in August, has given me her support. She said our only difference in our philosophies was the uniforms, which Mr. Miller has already addressed. And the firefighters and the teachers associations have all given me their endorsements for the race too. And I would love to have another 4 years to complete projects I'm working on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Richardson.
My name is Jim Richardson. I am running for City Commissioner in Fruitland Park, Group 2. I'm currently the incumbent commissioner. My plan is to continue what I've started. I'm going to put the citizens' interest first. We're going to promote transparency in our city. We are going to hold our city administration accountable. Right now, there is no accountability for what kind of money or when they spend money. I also want to promote our economic corridors on 466A and 441. If we'll get out there and offer some tax incentives to these businesses with the understanding that half of their workforce would come from Fruitland Park. We'll be able to sustain growth in Fruitland Park and never have to raise our property taxes. Our current commission, other than myself, just recently raised property taxes and the water bill. About myself, the most important things about me, been married to my wife Jane for 24 years. I have a daughter that's a senior at the University of Florida that graduates in December, along with her husband graduates in December. My youngest daughter is a junior at the University of Florida, and the most important thing is, in January, I'm going to be a new grandfather.
You prepared to spend a lot of money.
In college, I know that.
Mr. Hurley.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jay Hurley, and I am running for Leesburg Commission, seat District 1. I'm excited to be running this year because this is where I call home. I know some of you are not residents of Leesburg, but you still frequent Leesburg or come here for events. And so I want to talk about first a little bit about me and then what we hope to do as we move into the next 4 years as the city of Leesburg. I moved here from Dallas, Texas. That's where I was born and raised. I am a preacher's kid. Some of you may remember the term of PK. I'm a third generation PK. And my father and mother came out here in '86 and became a pastor of a church. And then me and my wife followed about 2 years later in '88. We've lived here since. I've been married to my wife now, celebrating 26 years. I had the big 25 last year, didn't get the gold watch, so I've stayed in it. And I have one daughter who is 21 years old and goes to Lake Sumter Community College. I am a small business owner. I own Truman's, a men's clothing store out by Steak and Shake. I encourage you, whether you buy anywhere else or vote anywhere else, buy at Truman's. I want to make sure I get that plug in there. That pays my bills. And then I'm really excited about the opportunity to run for the city of Leesburg. Since I have been here in 24 years, Leesburg, and don't take this as a negative, but the facts are the facts. Leesburg has declined. When I moved here, Leesburg really was the progressive shining star of Lake County. We had the largest population. We were the most progressive as far as advancement towards cities and such.
To be resumed shortly.
Mr. Howard.
First, I want to thank the Tri-County NAACP for hosting this event. My name is Michael Howard. I am running for Group 3 seat in Fruitland Park. I am happy to be with all these politicians because I ain't one. This is my first time at this rodeo. I am a police officer here in the city of Leesburg. I am running for Fruitland Park, though, as a commissioner. My goal is, as my partner here in crime, Jim, just said, is to change the city of Fruitland Park. I moved there 18 years ago with my family. It, too, was a shining star. We have seen that star tarnish a little bit in recent years. We want to see a change in Fruitland Park for the better. We want to see growth that will help stabilize our tax environment there. To lessen, right now, our tax environment basically is leaning upon our residents. We want that to switch back over to a business tax environment. We want to bring jobs into Fruitland Park. We want to make it a job-friendly city where we can manage that growth also. I am a retired military veteran, disabled. I've raised my children. I've got one in med school, and I'm a proud adoptive parent of a special needs child. My wife and I have been married for 25 years. We have been very successful in this community. We want to see this community continue to grow and be very successful. Again, thank you for having us here.
Mr. Renard.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here. My name is Rick Ranise. I moved to Leesburg, Florida with my family in 1968, and we've resided here ever since. 5 years ago, I built a home in Fruitland Park next to my mother-in-law, because that's where we plan to retire. We built a home to take care of my mother who passed, and now to take care of my mother-in-law when her time comes. I've been married for 30 years to Rita Train. Many of you people, if you've been in Leesburg a long time, I'm sure her father gave you your driver's license, because he was there for 20 years. I'm retired from the Lake County Sheriff's Office. My first job was in Hawthorne, Leesburg, 10 years, Sheriff's Department. When I left the Sheriff's Department, I went to work for Northrop Grumman and traveled the United States teaching everything from first aid to weapons of mass destruction. 2 years ago, I got involved in the city of Fruitland Park and going to their meetings. And I saw that there's no guidance, there's no plan in Fruitland Park. I was listening to Mr. Richardson, who's the sitting commissioner, and some of the others, and we need a plan. We need a 5-year plan, we need a 10-year plan to build our commercial growth and our residential growth. And with that, I hope to do that. I'm not a politician, I can manage the budget, and that's what I'm there to do. I'm currently the general manager of Pat Sales in Leesburg and been doing that for 6 years. If you have any questions, please see my website or give me a call or talk to me after the meeting. And thank you again for giving me the opportunity to be here.
Ms. Lee.
Hi, good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. It really is an honor to come and speak to you today. I am not a politician either. My name is Pam Lee, and I'm a candidate for Lake County Property Appraiser. And I've been in Lake County for 20 years. And part of the 20 years, I spent some of the time working 3 jobs and going to school at night. And when I was working those 3 jobs, one of the jobs that I had was at Gray Middle School, and the principal there was Aurelia Cole. She was such an inspiration to me to continue my education. She really backed me all the way. And now that I did get my degree, I want to give back to the community that I love so dearly. My background is construction, and I've been in construction since I was a small child. Back when parents were able to use their kids for free labor. But they taught me a lot, and they taught me a good work ethic. I know a lot about building and construction, and I know the values of property, and I know how important it is to be accurate in the property appraiser's office. I've studied the Constitution as it relates to the taxation, the Florida statutes, and the Department of Revenue. So I'm very familiar with all the regulations that are involved, and I just would ask you to please consider voting for me. I am a write-in, and I do have the information in the back on how to get my name written into the ballot, but I would very much appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Ms. Eaton.
Good evening, and thank you from all of us for having us here and for all of you attending. My name is Margie Eaton. I am running for Supervisor of Elections. A little bit about me. I've lived in Lake County for 40 years. I have a daughter. I am married, and I'm going to get a brand new son-in-law on Saturday when my daughter gets married. Very excited about that. I attended the schools in Eustis. I got a legal assisting degree from Lake Sumter Community College and a bachelor's in business management from DeVry University. I have over 15 years of legal experience, which I think is huge when you're going to be working in an office that follows Florida statutes and federal laws. It's important to be able to understand, implement them, and put them into place when they need to be, where they need to be. Last year in June, I attended the statewide supervisor conference that they had, and I did that because I had seen problems with the office and thought, instead of staying home and complaining, I should put myself out there. That's what I did. I attended the conference to make sure I knew what I was getting into and that I would be able to do the job, because it would be a disservice to the community if I ran for something that I could not do. So I appreciate you all coming out. She's going to hold up that stop sign in about 30 seconds. And I appreciate your vote on November 6th. Thank you very much.
Ms. Stegall.
Good evening. I am Imogene Stegall, and I've been around for a few years. As you know, this is not my first campaign. In my campaigns, I always take the high road. This is America, and anyone who wishes may run for office. I respect my opponent. Negative campaigning is not my style. I am the best candidate for the job. I worked in the office 14 years as Chief Deputy Supervisor before I was elected Supervisor of Elections in 1972. I am State Certified Supervisor of Elections and have proven experience, integrity, honesty, and dedication. During my tenure in office, I have successfully implemented voting systems that have been certified by the Department of State. In addition, I have converted the voter registration system to the most modern, cost-effective registration system that present technology has to offer. And I have continued to expand the voter outreach program, and 30 seconds. And there is no substitute for experience. Please consider my qualifications when you go to vote.
Mr. Odette.
Yes, sir, thank you. Good evening, my name is Mike Odette. I'm a candidate, a no party affiliation candidate for County Commissioner District 3. I'm running against Mr. Connor here, who's presently in that position. First, a little bit about my background. I'm 59 years old. Not going to be a career politician. The only other office I ever held was I was the class president of my high school back in 1971. After that, I volunteered for draft, joined the Army, spent 2 years on active duty, returned home, became a deputy sheriff like this gentleman. I was a deputy sheriff about 12 and a half years, put myself through school during that time, completed law school, moved on to practice law. I'm a licensed attorney in both Michigan and Florida. I've worked for the state attorney's office here in Florida for 10 years. Since 9/11, I had 40 years in the Army Reserves. When I got back out of the Army, I joined the Reserves, and I stayed in all until last October, so I had 40 years of military service. I got 6 combat tours, 4 in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan, and 1 in the Philippines. When I was in the Philippines on my last tour last October, the ambassador offered me a job to return as a civilian and teach rule of law, civil rights violations, human rights violations, and so I returned to do that job. Ambassador Harry Thomas, I'll look him up. I love that job. I love enforcing people's rights. You know, Philippines is a poor country. But the reason I'm running here is because I want to, like my signs around town say, I want to restore ethics. I want to create some jobs by keeping local preference for our community. And I want to reduce spending, overtaxing. No tax increases, reduce spending. When the revenues are down, it's important to reduce spending, just like you have to do it at your home. Thank you.
Mr. Connor.
Appreciate y'all having us here, and thank you for being here. We go to these things a lot. I have to say, everybody sitting up here who's running for office that tells you that they're not a politician, that's the first lie. Because if you're running, you're a politician. I'm sorry, but you know, we go to these forums, and I want to tell you something. The best forum that we've been to this year was the NAACP dinner. I see John nodding his head, that Paul Williams and others helped put together, and that was an awesome event, Ms. Jones. And so thank you for that night. That was a wonderful night. Ms. Manning and I have one thing in common, one of many things, but my high school football coach, the first black coach in Lake County head coach after integration, was her neighbor, and Rudy Roll. Coach Roll passed away November 2 years ago. But he was a great influence on my life, and anytime I get a chance to hold his name up, I try to, because I loved him, and he was just a great influence in my life, and I appreciated him so much. One of the things that I was on the school board, and you know, one of the things I'm the proudest of? Carver Middle School, we rebuilt it. Kurt Wright, we rebuilt it. Some people said, no, you can't do that, but I and other school board members said, yes, you can. I had a great working relationship with Purnell, and one of your most prominent leaders, John Christian, has endorsed me. So just ask people who know me what they think about me. Or maybe you better not do that.
Okay, we've heard the introduction from the candidates. At this point now, we will proceed with the question and answer period. What we're going to do right now is, again, we give each candidate 1.5 minutes. When the first minute is up, she's going to raise a sign. And then we're going to tell you the 30 seconds, that's all you got left. Everybody comfortable? Okay. Ms. Lowe.
Sir.
What qualifies you to assume the duties of the office of school board candidate?
The school board members are tasked with policies and allocation of funding. With my, as I had mentioned earlier, my background is I do have a college degree in business marketing, and I also had a business for a number of years. So I do understand the financing, and I do understand as a small business owner that we have to work within our means financially. We have to understand that. And so, with being involved in a school district for so many years, I have the opportunity to work with many of teachers in our school system. Ms. Jones, I had an opportunity to work with her for a number of years, and I have sat and talked to her, and I think that she is one of my, is very inspirational for me, and to me. And people like Ms. Jones have encouraged me to run for this position because I understand what the teachers are going through, the accountability system that is placed upon them, and how their hands are tied. And that is an opportunity that it's really important that I have learned and that we continue to talk to our educators because they have been, the men and the women who are teaching our kids. And I think that it's important that we continue to talk to our educators and talk with our school district and the district employees to make sure that we give them the support that they need.
Ms. Brandenburg, same question. What qualifies you to assume the duties of this office again?
Well, first and foremost, I'm the proud mother of a son who is currently in the Lake County school system, but started off in kindergarten. I have been involved every step of the way. You can ask any one of my schools, do they know me? Do I visit the schools? The teachers will tell you, the administrators will tell you, and most importantly, the students will tell you that I support them and their schools, and I've done this for the past 4 years. I shared with you that I've got a master's degree in business administration, and I manage over $12 million in my job at Lake Sumter Community College. I am a certified school board member, which I shared with you prior. The one thing I did not tell you is I was one of only 4 school board members in the entire state of Florida who was elected in 2008 to get that designation in June of 2010. So I have a strong commitment to education. What I want for my child, I want for your children and for your grandchildren. And so that is why I believe that I am the best candidate for this position, and I've also been in the job for 4 years. Thank you.
Ms. Steiger, what qualifies you to assume the position of school board leader?
Well, without making myself look old, which I am, I've got about 40 years of experience in government, civic, nonprofits, those type of areas within the Lake County. I was born and raised here. I was born in Houston Hospital when it was downtown Houston. And I have raised my children here, and they have gone through the public system. I worked, just as Ms. Brandenburg said, when my children went into school, I went to school. I was PTO, SAC, SAC, athletic booster president. Anything that they were involved in, I was involved in, so that I knew what they were getting what they needed in school. I knew all the teachers, etc. The 4 years that I've had on this school board has been very educational to me. Coming from Lake County government, which is totally run differently because they are in charge, the commissioners are in charge of your money from your ad valorem taxes. Being on the school board, I've had to learn that the state dictates what we do. And if you're a teacher or a retired teacher, you know what we're talking about. They send 51% down to us, and they tell us where to use it. They don't know where we need to be using it. And I think my experience of being a county commissioner for 8 years, being on the city council for the city of Taveri, working with their budget, and the fact that the teachers have endorsed me, as well as Cheryl Thomas, who is an educator and is very well versed. I think I'm the best candidate. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, what qualifies you to be a school board candidate again?
Thank you, Louis. I have a strong business background. I grew up in the Chicago area, and I worked for Jewel Food Stores. And I went to college, and then I got out. I really wanted to get into work, and I went from bag boy to grocery manager very quickly, worked for corporate. And I moved down to Leesburg and took some of my savings from that. And a buddy of mine, Larry Kreck, we bought Pal's Thriftway, and it became Pal's Foodway right across from Publix. So you may remember me from then. I was a little younger then, but anyway. In '81, he bought me out, and I got into commercial real estate. I've been doing that for a long time. It's very successful. I was the top non-residential salesperson for ERA 3 out of 4 years back in the heyday when things were booming. As a business person, I was involved with the Chamber of Commerce, and that got me involved with world-class schools. That's where I first met John Leslie Johnson. He was at Dabney Elementary, And it was an A school. We closed it, but it was an A school. He had some great teachers there. He even had Miss Saylor, our superintendent, was working for him there. But anyway, he hasn't endorsed me, but he has given some very generous contributions. But Pernell Mitchell, who's in the back, who came in, has endorsed me, as has Cheryl Thomas for school board. They were on the campaign trail with us, heard all our speeches, and both of them chose to endorse me. So, thank you.
Mr. Hurley, what qualifies you to run for a candidate for Leesburg City Commission?
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing I got to do is correct Jimmy Connors. I am not a politician, but I am trying like the Dickens to become one. Getting back to what I was saying earlier in my introductions, my point is that when I moved here because my parents were here. After I'd been here about 6 months, I was scared of Florida, because when I originally came from Dallas, I was thinking about palm trees and the ocean, and didn't know my parents settled right in the middle of the state and couldn't get any farther away from them than they did. I wanted to go back to Dallas, but then me and my wife decided we were going to have a child, and as I started looking at this community, I started realizing there's no better place than to raise a family right here, and I became involved. As the son of a pastor, I became involved in church activities, and my father taught me to continue that right over into my community. My father, who is not only a pastor, is also a guardian ad litem, works in Kiwanis, is president of multiple civic organizations, and so he instilled in me the obligation to reach out to my fellow man and to go really fast. I got to talk a little faster. So I've been involved in the community. I want to see this community flourish. It is quality of life that brings about economic development. If you take away the quality of life in the community, your residents are going to move out. When your residents move out, your businesses are going to move out, and when your businesses move out, none of your industry wants to be here. Little places like a trailer park called Orange Blossom Gardens on 441, that's now called The Villages, started out as a trailer park and began to bring quality of life to its residents, and then they started bringing in residents, businesses, and industry. Now the president stops there.
Mr. Hurley, I'm sorry, Mr. Howard.
Yes.
Mr. Howard.
Yes.
The question is, what qualifies you to run for the Fruitland Park City Commission?
Well, let us first, most of all, again, Jimmy, I am not a politician. I was with you in Claremont when you first ran, back in the days when I was actively involved in the chamber. So anyway, I got to take notes because I'm not good at this. Number one, I serve as a trustee for a very large church and part of the finance committee. I'm not great with numbers, I'm not great with budgets, but I can make them work. I'm tight with the dollar. I have been working for the last several years assisting the city of Leesburg with its plans and development committee. Mr. Hurley knows how tight I can be when it comes to rules and regulation. But it's always for the best for the city. I bring to the table levels 1, 2, and 3 for the state certification of the code enforcement. I know how to make the city better and how to make it work better for everybody. A lot of citizens of this community have benefited from that. But I think most of all, what speaks great volumes for the city of Fruitland Park and for the seat number 3 that I'm running for, I'm here. My opponent's not.
Mr. Bernard, what makes you qualified to run for the City Commission of Fruitland Park?
What I've learned over the last 2 years of sitting in commission meetings, there's no plan in Fruitland Park. When I worked for Lake County Sheriff's Office, I was the first training coordinator assigned under George Knupp to develop a training department, and I did. I ran it for 9 years, and I ran it under budget because Chief David Hall would hang me out to dry if I didn't. I left there and went to work for Northrop Grumman. I worked in the Homeland Security. We had the task of hiring 37,000 employees and having them trained in 7 months. I was one of 37 who were invited to Salt Lake City on December 31st because we managed to meet that goal and we met it under budget. When we talk about manpower and money, you have to have a plan to spend it and how to not only make the plan, but to initiate the plan. I spent a lot of days in Washington D.C. with a lot of people with much higher degrees than what I have, because I have a degree of Leesburg High School education, and that is all I have in my background. But we always came in under budget, and I've got a nice letter that says we did a tremendous job with a 97% passing rate for those TSA employees. And that's what Fruitland Park needs, is someone to manage their money and make sure that the work is done correctly, and that we have a plan, we implement the plan and follow it. Thank you.
Mr. Richardson, what qualifies you to run against the candidates?
When I originally ran for the office, I would say business experience. But after having been there for 2.5 years, I would say it's got to be common sense. For some reason, common sense and government just don't seem to mix, especially in Fruitland Park. The way that money is spent in Fruitland Park, there's no accountability. Our city manager spends it, his spending limit is $4,000, but he has spent up to $96,000 before without commission approval. So that's where we need to hold our administration accountable. They need to know that they work for the citizens, that the citizens aren't working for them. Mr. Ranice, he's running for mayor against Chris Bell, and Mr. Howard's running against John Gunner, Group 3. Neither one of I had 3 opponents, and none of them have shown up today. I don't know why. I have no problem answering any questions anyone has. The city has done everything they can, city management, to discredit me because they won't be out of there because I ask the hard questions. And again, the best reason I'm qualified is I have common sense.
Ms. Stephen, what qualifies you to run for supervisor of elections?
Well, like I said earlier, I have the over 15 years of legal experience, and I will give Ms. Spiegel the 54 years of actual experience of working in the office, but that doesn't diminish the fact that you can have experience outside of an office and bring it into a new position, and it be an asset to that position. I also had 8 years of working as management of a construction office, so I understand the importance of having staff that is qualified, experienced, and that's cross-trained. I think it's real important that you have everyone in the office know somebody else's job, because you never know when something can happen when someone needs to be out of the office. There has to be somebody there who can pick up their job and go with it. And that includes the position of the supervisor of elections. There has to be something. If they get sick the day before an election, guess what? That election is still going to go. The legal experience is a big thing because you do have federal and state laws that define the job. And that part of the job is the actual voting processes. The position of supervisor of elections is a lot of things that you can do within your own office. And those are things that you can improve the community outreach. You can try new things, your websites. You can try to go out and try to get people, especially the young people, to understand the importance of voting, but also the importance of, as you all know because you're here, of learning about the candidates before you go out and vote so that you make an informed vote. And she's got that little red card again, so thank you.
Ms. Spiegel, what qualifies you to run against the supervisor of elections?
Well, I think my record, and I am running on my record. I've never been involved in a court of law, never had an election contested, and everyone is, I run the office nonpartisan, and everyone is treated equal. And I think it's my record that gives me that with my experience, and there's no substitute for experience. And I think that my staff with our customer service do a wonderful job. I receive compliments every day about how wonderful our customer service. When you call our office, you get an answer. You do not get press this button, press this button. And if we do not know the answer, we will get back to you within the day to answer your question. And customer service is most important. And we do have great customer service. Most of you, I have been in the office since most of you were, before you were born, most of you. And there's no substitute for experience. And I've run on my record, and I think that's what qualifies me to continue to serve. Thank you.
Ms. Lee, what qualifies you to run for property appraiser?
There's two things that qualify me more than anything else, and that's my construction background, my ability to read blueprints, my ability to know the difference in quality of a building and the inside of what's inside that building, as well as the foundation and the whole bit. The second thing that qualifies me is my attention to detail and my quality assurance background. I was hired by Lockheed Martin right out of school, and they tested me for all kinds of different situations so that they could place me in an appropriate place, and the first thing they did was put me in quality assurance. For some reason, I have this gift from God that I can just look at things, and for example, I was cited on several occasions for what they call finding a design flaw. I don't know the first thing about designing a missile, but I do know quality assurance, and I know how to verify if it is. So just because you don't know everything about everything doesn't mean that you might not have an innate ability to do things accurately. And that's what this position requires above all else, is accuracy. And I promise you that we will be compliant to the Constitution, the statutes, and the Department of Revenue. But more than that, it's people. And I think that I have the ability to look at the people. This is the biggest investment. Property is the biggest investment that most people will ever have, and I would be honored to be the one to serve you in that position. Thank you.
Mr. Connor, what qualifies you to run again for candidate of Lake County?
I have a unique background. In fact, no one that I knew growing up had it. When I was 6 years old, my parents divorced. That happens a lot, but my dad raised me. That didn't happen back in 1960. Had a little brother who had just been born who was terminally handicapped. He lived till he was 18. We took care of him until he was 12. And so I talk about Coach Roll being a great example in my life. My father, God gave me the greatest father that a son could ever have. He's 83 now. It's role reversal. I'm taking care of him, but that comes first right now for me. But when I was on the school board, there were a lot of people that didn't want to build that Lake Hill school. But when you have a brother who's handicapped, you have a heart for handicapped kids. And Colleen Fisher and I pushed through building that Lake Hill School, and I'm very, very proud of that. You know what really separates me, I think, and I know this community. I'm invested in this community. I've lived here. I'm a native. I went to Lake Sumter, then to Florida State for 2 years and came back here, and I've been invested in this community ever since. My pastor at First Baptist Church of Umatilla is Brooks Braswell. He's 32 years old. When he was 8 years old, he turned a triple play for me when I was coaching at the YMCA. Now that's deep roots in this community, and I think that really distinguishes me.
And you're a politician.
I didn't deny that either.
Mr. Odette, what qualifies you to run for Lake County Commission?
I think I have a pretty unique background, experience, education. You know, I've got my Juris Doctorate, my bachelor's degree, my associate's degree, but I also had 40 years as a citizen soldier working to protect the country that I love. You know, the last several combat tours I was doing rule of law, anti-corruption, that type of thing. And I looked at this race and I said, I can go home and do anti-corruption. And I want you to read my slides. And I don't want to run a negative campaign, but you know, the truth is the truth in a campaign. And you got to put out what the facts are. If you're running on your record in office, his record in office counts. I think I can do a much better job. I'm going to return ethics, restore ethics. On day number 1, I'm going to bring an ethical code of conduct to the Board of Commissioners and get it enacted, because many of the counties have it, Lake County does not. I don't think it's proper to take money from people that have votes pending before the Board of Commissioners. I don't think it's proper to take money from people and then do zoning in their favor. I don't think it's proper to take money from people and award them contracts, to award them leases. And I don't think it's proper to have your campaign list, 30 people on your campaign, or from out-of-county contractors who do business with Lake County donating money to your campaign. So I'm going to bring ethics back, protect the little people. My loyalty is to you. I've lived Army values for 40 years, and I'm going to continue it here in Lake County. Thank you.
School board candidates. Mr. Miller, do you think that charter schools are strengthening or weakening our public school system?
Yes. We have some very good charter schools, and we have some pretty bad charter schools. For the most part, in Lake County, we have some good ones. In fact, we're one of the counties that strongly invested in the conversion charters. Round Lake, Spring Creek, Mascot, Mineola are charter conversion schools, and Lake Tech is a charter conversion school. We also have, so I think they've helped, but they're kind of given a little too much, well, they aren't given too much freedom. They're given freedom that we aren't given. I didn't bring it, but we have a book of laws for schools. It is 911 pages. It is a phone book. It is all fine print with no diagrams. And that's our regulations. If they could just cut that in half, give us a little more freedom of how we spend. Debbie talked about how all our money is to be spent this way or that way. We have very little freedom. They tell us how to do everything up top. Charter schools were given freedom to experiment and explore. If they could give the public schools the same freedom, I think it'd make a huge difference. The charter schools are public schools, so it's not like they're private schools; they're public schools. So I think they will help lead the way, but I would like them to lighten up on the regulations so we could lead the way with our public schools too.
Ms. Diamond, do you think charter schools are strengthening or weakening our public school system?
I'm not so sure that the charter school itself is weakening it. I think that legislation and our legislators are the ones that are doing that, because the push seems to be in Tallahassee that we go to charter schools. Over the past few years, they've taken away the PICO funds, which are the funds that help remodel, maintain the buildings that we have, and have given them all to the charter schools. We no longer get PICO funds. So we're looking for other funds somewhere else in order to take care of the buildings that we have. The conversion charters that Jim was just talking about, they have kind of split with their grades academically. Some of the schools are really good A schools. It depends on the area in which they're in, the parents that are involved in it, and the administration that they have. Even though the teachers that are there in the conversions are Lake County School Board employees, they are directed by whoever the board is at that charter school. The funding is an issue. Technology is an issue. The conversion charters have more things than we have in our public schools, and that is another issue that has to do with funding. So I'm not so sure that the charter is the issue. It's how it's being addressed and how the push is to make everything go charter, because we don't want to do that. We have a great public school system, and everyone has been down on our school system, but the 4 years I have been there, we have a great system. We have great teachers, we have great administrators, and our students are awesome. We do some wonderful things in the facilities that we have. We just don't have the funding that the charter schools have.
Ms. Brandenburg, do you think charter schools are weakening or strengthening our public school system?
If the state of Florida were to treat us equally, then I could say that they help our schools. But because they don't, you have heard about the funding. Another thing that goes along with the funding, it used to be 95% of the student funding would go to the charter schools, and 5% would go to the district to manage the human resources, the purchasing, the maintenance, and other areas on the first 500 students. 3 years ago, the state changed that to the first 250 students. So we have charters that have 800 to 1,000 students. So we're seeing even less dollars with per student funding as a result of that. Each year, charter schools are allowed to apply to become a charter school, for example, in Lake County. A year ago, Charter Schools USA applied for a charter in Lake County. We did grant them with the charter. I was hesitant because they could not tell us where they were going to open up that charter school. So 6 months later, they still could not tell us where they were going to build the charter. So we pulled their application. And so the state says that charter schools don't even have to tell you where they want to build a school. In Lake County, we have areas that need relief, but we have other areas that don't need the relief. And so that's another difference between the two.
Ms. Lowe, do you think charter schools strengthen or weaken the public school system?
Well, we do know that the state is leaning towards funding charter schools more and more every day. So charter schools are taking away the funding from public education system. But I'm not really sure if I agree or disagree that charter school is weakening our public education system. Both of my boys attend Mount Dora High School. And I say this because, both of my boys attend Mount Dora High School. And the school district, the high school ranked as a D this year. And we don't have an A high school in our school district. So what do we need to do to improve the quality of education? We need to make sure that in a time where state is mandating that money goes into charter school, we have very limited resource to work with. So we have to be creative. At this point in time, at this moment, how are we going to fund our classes? How are we going to make sure that our students have books, our teachers have resources to teach? I believe that our school district is top-heavy at this point in time, and if I am elected, I will take a look at cutting some of the positions of the school district so our classes have more funding.
For commission candidates, Mr. Hurley, with a huge backlog of foreclosed homes and other homes for sale on the market, was it a wise decision to drop impact fees on new homes?
Yes, it's a wise decision to drop impact fees on all construction that we're trying to do right now. We're in a time where we have tough economic times. New businesses are trying to start up. People are trying to build homes. We had an inflated housing market. We had mortgages that were out of control. Now we have a lot of blighted neighborhoods. We have foreclosed not only homes, but businesses and vacant shopping centers. It's one of the issues that we have in Leesburg. As you look around Leesburg, you look at what we used to have and now what we have today, and it's very disappointing. I look at the quality of life. This is where my community is. This is where I live. I'm trying to do anything and promote anything that will help us revitalize building again, because that's part of the industry. Lake County used to be a citrus county. That was what we did. That was where our stimulus came from, our growth. And then as the citrus froze off and we began to build, then we became involved in the construction aspect. And there was a lot of our funding that came through the construction. Now, the construction has died off, and so all of a sudden we've had people that have moved out of the area. We've got vacant homes in neighborhoods everywhere. And so yes, it was an important decision to make, and they made the right ones by doing that. Hopefully they'll continue to keep doing that.
Mr. Richardson, same question.
Yes, I'm not a believer in impact fees. It's really more of a new construction fee. There is a simple solution if our legislature would look at it. Our documentary stamps on real estate transactions. We're collecting 70 cents per $100 of value. I'm in residential real estate with the RA Tom Bernard. I just recently closed a deal with a gentleman from Massachusetts. They collect $4.65 for every $100 of value up there. They don't have impact fees up there. We don't need impact fees. It's continually going to slow growth. If we were to increase our dock stamps minimally and recover that on every single transaction, we wouldn't have an issue with that tax.
Mr. Howard.
I'll say on redundant, I do like the idea of the dock stamp fees. The impact fees versus foreclosures. There is no equal playing ground with the banks and the lenders. I deal a lot with foreclosures in my area with the police department. It's one of my specialties. Is my captain sitting back here, and I have to daily deal with the big lenders and work with the foreclosures and the foreclosing network. They hold it over the developer's head. They can sell that piece of property really at any rate they want to. They've already lost money on it, and they can still afford to lose more money on it versus a new project. So they really do hold it over a new project's head that they can afford to take the loss, where a new builder or building a new project cannot afford to take the loss. If we go to the dock stamp ideal that Jim spoke of, it will place all of us on the equal playing field with the lenders.
Mr. Renaz.
Thank you. I've talked to about 80% of the businessmen in Fruitland Park. I was on to their businesses. I talked to them. 3 of them expanded this last year. One of them spent $12,000 in impact fees. One spent $940 on impact fees. It's an existing business just to expand their growth. And I question why. We've lost 4 businesses in Fruitland Park to the city of Leesburg. Thank you, Jay.
Yes, sir.
Because of impact fees. The school board have waived impact fees, correct? County's waived impact fees, but Fruitland Park still has them. I built my house 5 years ago. It's $17,000 in impact fees. $17,000. And what did I get for that? You know, I got a water meter that I paid for. Do we need to do away with it? Yes, we need to bring growth in. Fruitland Park needs economic and commercial growth, and the only way to do that is to attract businesses in. And you can't do that when Lady Lake and the city of Leesburg, and we're stuck in the middle, and we have impact fees. We need an even playing field, and I think we can get by without the impact fees because the revenue coming off the improvements from that vacant property right now or delinquent property, our taxes would still increase. But we need to do something to make it more friendly for businesses and residents to build and come to Fruitland Park. Thank you.
Mr. Odette.
Same question?
Same question.
Impact fees, when they first started, were much smaller and it was more reasonable. We raised them so much that it got to it wasn't reasonable, and that's why they went away. But we didn't replace it for the schools. It was a burden on the schools because we didn't replace that income with something else. So it's, you know, the service debt on the school debt now is $32 million a year just to pay for the debt that we have on the schools. So it's a problem. We all want growth and we don't want impact fees. But I think we did it to ourselves by raising it at such a level that it wasn't reasonable. So we completely did away and we didn't replace it with anything to fund the school. So it's something that has to be looked at, a way to bring money back in to spend on the community. And impact fees at $17,000 per house there is outrageous. I mean, it should not be returned. But a smaller amount, maybe $1,500, $2,000, might have been reasonable, and it would have helped fund the education. So it's got to be looked at, and we can't just ignore the problem, take away the impact fees, and not address it in some other way to make up the money that was lost.
Mr. Connor.
I want to talk about 2 different kinds of impact fees. First is the school impact fee, which the county commission has waived. I supported that very strongly. Let me tell you why. Jobs. Anything we can do right now with the unemployment rate, we need to do as government. So many times government gets in the way of job creation, waiving those impact fees. Building permits this year are up more than 20%. That's phenomenal given the national economy right now. Number 2, in March of 2009, 4 months after I took office, I initiated waiving transportation impact fees, not on residential, but on commercial. Within the first 12 months, 630 jobs were created. And those come from the businesses that built. Not only were those jobs created, but the taxable value of that property, where those 630 jobs were created, the taxable value increased over $10 million. And so we created jobs by doing that, but that's still in force to this day. So right now, with a down economy, waiving impact fees to help job creation is something that our county commission has been very aggressive on, and something that I think that when people are looking for jobs, we need to err on the side of job creation, not stifling job growth.
Supervisor of elections. What do you think are some of the most important ways in terms of technology that we can advance the election office? In other words, what are some of the things that you would put into the program if you were elected to be the supervisor of elections to make it work better, to make it work quicker? Ms. Evans,
Well, as we all know, the youth has a lot better technology than we do. We have children who have phones. I have a smartphone. Finally, I told my daughter it's still a little smarter than I am. I think the main thing is you have a group of people who are not going to pick up the phone to call an office. They're going to go on their phone. They're going to go on a website. They want to find things, and they want to find it instantly.
So you have to have a website that provides that information. I also think it should provide the links to other information, to other election information, instead of having to go to the state election website, because that's really complicated because it covers 67 counties. But let them know who is their representative in the precinct that they live in, how they can contact their representatives. Try to find out people who want to put the links of candidates. You know, let these people who want to go out and try new things. We've got the little scan codes. You know, people can put a little scan on their phone and it pulls it up instantly. That should be something that the office should offer. As far as with the election, again, it's more of an office procedure than the election. The election process is dictated by Tallahassee, and although there's 67 people who can have some input in it, she's so cute, she smiles at me before she gets ready to raise it. But before they can do that, Tallahassee has to change that. So I think we just need to come up with the new technology that the younger people are looking for. Thank you.
Ms. Stegall, I just want to rephrase that question a little bit differently for you. What have you done in recent years to keep your office operating efficiently and with the aid of modern technology?
We have gone to the most modern technology in our voter registration system and our voting system that current technology has to offer. And let me tell you, the bottom line is there's no money. My budget, I keep my budget down. The equipment that we have, you know, in 2001, we had to buy new equipment. We went to the touch screen. Remember, most modern technology had to offer. And then when Governor Chris became governor, he said we will go back to paper. We went back to paper, and we spent $1 million for the scanners. And at that time, there were some electronic poll books were developed and came on the market. $1 million to replace our paper books that we print in-house. It's very cost effective, and I could not justify spending $1 million to buy something that worked. If you notice, if you pay attention on election night, you will see that Lake County is one of the first in the Central Florida area to get our results out. To get them out, and we work with what we have, and it works, and we get it done. And if there's money available, we would look into further.
School board candidates, do you agree with uniforms or not? Ms.
I am not for uniforms, and I'll tell you why. Last year I was the chairman, and Mr. Miller brought the issue up, and I wanted to make sure it was vetted, so we had community meetings all over our district. We had it all over the district. We had students come, teachers come, parents come, everybody. We have one in Eustis, Leesburg, and one in the south end of the county. And the majority of the people that came, or either sent us an email saying they wanted them or they didn't, the majority did not want uniforms in Lake County. I, being a Republican that I am, whether you are or not, I think there is a democracy, and when there is a majority, I think that they rule. So I am not for doing it until we get everybody on board to do it. In looking at it as chairman, in looking at all the studies, I never found any study that said that having a uniform on made your child smarter. Yes, it may help with discipline in the class. Yes, it may be easier on the teachers. They're all little clones and they all look alike, but it doesn't make them smarter. I'm here to make sure that your child gets the education they need in order to go on and be successful in life. And I did not see that. I had 4 children. We did try it back when they were in elementary school, in various elementary, back in the 90s. It went for a couple of years, and then everybody said, oh, let's just don't do this anymore, and they quit. The south end of the county, let me finish this, the south end of the county had the elementary schools do wear uniforms, but it was left up to the parents in each one of those schools. Their SAC voted on it, which is a parent organization, and they put those into place. They came and got a waiver from us, from our policy, so that they could have uniforms. That is the only area in the county that does that.
Thank you. In order to receive some questions from the floor, we're going to do that right now because we're in the time. It's already 7:10. We got less than 20 minutes. Sorry? We got less than 20 minutes. So we're going to take some questions from the floor, and then we're going to give you the opportunity to close out. Okay? Do we have any questions from the floor? Ms. Manning, do you need a mic?
No, I think I can project.
I believe you.
30 years in the classroom, I can project. I really had about 8 questions that I wanted to have addressed, but I'll assure you most of them have been answered. I was interested in your vision for the city or the county. What would you change about the office that you're running for, and how will you do it? What experience, the qualifications that make you better for the position? What makes a good leader? What can you do to build trust? School concurrency, how do you feel about that? What is the difference between a politician and a statesman? And my one question is school board people. How do you feel about the LCAT score being based on race according to African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, and whites?
Can I start?
Yes.
I heard that on the radio this morning, and I was appalled when I heard that information. When they said that 74% of African Americans, are on, will be on reading level, 88% of whites, and 94% of Asians. I said, that is setting our students up to fail.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so I am appalled that the Florida Department of Education has passed that, because I have to tell you, none of that ever came before any of the school boards in the state of Florida. It did not come to us in Lake County. So when I heard that, I am appalled, because I think that every child deserves the same opportunities, that we need to set the bar high, we need to have accountability, because if you say to the African Americans, for example, only 74 out of 100 of you have to be able to be on reading level. The other 26 of you, we don't know what you're going to do, but I guess we're not as concerned about that. So I think it's a disgrace.
Anybody else want to answer the one?
I was in total shock. World-class schools, the whole thing was all kids can learn. All kids can learn. This is I don't know what the other side, I hadn't heard the other side of the story, but I can't imagine there is one. I'll tell you one success story, though, where they have closed the gap, the learning gap. And that's in Mooresville, North Carolina. 6 years ago, they invested, they took everything they had, they went to larger class sizes. We can't do that legally, but they didn't spend any money on anything else, and they committed to get Apple laptops for 3rd grade through 12th grade. 6 years later, and they're in the bottom 10% of school districts in North Carolina in funding. They're number 1 in results. There are 3 races. Asians, you don't even count, but the 3 races are all like 92 and 93%. They have absolutely closed the generation gap, the learning gap. Their graduation rates for blacks, Hispanics, and whites are 92, 92, and 93. I mean, they've erased it. Technology can erase it. It can help all kids learn. If you Google South Khan, you'll realize Khan Academy is the answer for all kids learning, because they learn at their own pace and in their own way. And Time is no longer the constant, it's the variable. Mastery is the constant, not the variable. It'll make a huge difference if we can get technology in our kids' hands.
Go ahead, Ms. Hines.
I think her word of call is probably a good one. I got the email this morning from the Florida Department of Education, and I said, this cannot be true. I sent it to Dr. Moxley, and to have her explain to me what they were trying to do. I'm Native American. I know that Ms. Gwynn is too. I'm Cherokee Indian. So now you're going to tell me because I'm a Cherokee Indian, I can't be educated the same way. It doesn't work that way. Every child is entitled to an education, and we are here to do that. And that's another one of those things, like I was telling you, the financial. They tell us what to use the money for. Now they're telling us who we can teach and who we can't teach. And y'all need to be out there telling your legislators we don't want this stuff.
Right. Any more questions from the audience? Okay, I'm sorry, Ms. Law, go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Law.
She doesn't count.
I should take that as a compliment from the end. Well, I was born in Vietnam, so naturally, and I came to the United States when I was in 5th grade, so naturally English is my second language. And I, as well as my siblings, we managed to excel in our public school system. So there is absolutely no reason that our students, our kids, our children who are born here in the United States can't learn the basic fundamental of reading, writing, and arithmetic. As I mentioned earlier, I worked with Ms. Jones at the middle school for a number of years, and I am just appalled that she is an 8th grade writing teacher, and that our students, when they get up to 8th grade, she still has to teach them remedial courses. Her challenge is to make sure that they pass the FCAT right. And it's really frustrating to see that our teachers at that grade level have to be accountable for the education progress of our students, that they have to teach remedial courses. Absolutely, we need to improve that today.
I got a question.
Yes.
Go ahead, ladies first.
Thank you.
Go ahead. But that's a hot topic.
To the candidates for supervisor elections, what is your opinion on the requirement to prevent a government-issued ID for the right to vote? In your opinion, is this voter suppression?
Good question.
Ms. Steckel?
Good question.
Well, I think that we should have ID at the polling place. Now, Florida state law, we had already that on the books that you have to have photo ID when you go to vote. And I think, however, if you do not have a photo ID, that does not keep a person from voting. They are issued a provisional ballot, and the signature on the envelope they have to sign, there's an oath they take saying they are qualified, and that signature, we match it, we compare it with the signature on file on their record, and if it matches that vote, it's counted. So they are not disenfranchised, and I do feel that there is a need for ID. With the laws, the election laws, voter registration is wide open since 1995. It is not easy. So I think that is a good thing to have photo ID.
Those who fail to even come out to vote because they're afraid that they don't have the proper ID are disenfranchised.
Well, and that is, you know, we send that information out. You vote a provisional ballot. The bottom line, people have to read and understand. You know, the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. We do everything. We work on voter education every day. And, you know, and some people tell me they do not read a paper, they don't listen to TV and all of this, but we do everything we can to educate the voter.
I think to have photo ID protects everybody who's voting. I think the problem is getting the IDs. And I have personal experience is trying to get my mother's driver's license address changed has been a nightmare because they require every name change to have documentation. So my mother's been married twice, I've got to get her birth certificate from 1939, you got to get her first marriage license, first divorce papers, it's a nightmare. But I think that's what needs to be fixed, because I think if you can get them the ID without jumping through all the hoops, then having that photo ID at the time of voting would not be a problem. But I do think it protects everyone who's voting to make sure that you are the person that is coming in saying you are who you are. So it's kind of, for me, it's fix the correct problem. Don't undo something because they don't want to fix the problem. We need to fix the problem of getting the IDs.
Got one question in the back, I'm gonna get you next.
ID, for the photo ID, should it be an ID from your job? Does it have to be
Government issued ID.
Can someone, can you repeat that question? Can you stand up?
What kind of photo ID?
She said, can the photo ID be from your job? What kind of photo?
Yes, it can be.
I worked in a hospital and have a photo ID.
That has your photo, and it has we need the photo and a signature, but you may use two different cards. If one has your photo and another card has your signature, you may use both. And people who request an absentee ballot, we've sent out over 28,000 issued already. Those people who request an absentee ballot, they do not have to have any photo ID, but we compare the signature with the signature on file, and that is the difference. So those who are unable to get an ID, call for an absentee ballot if you cannot get to the polls. That's legal.
That's the easy way to do it.
Ms. Nancy, then you.
This is for Ms. Eaton. Ms. Eaton, you were talking about your legal background and the need to follow Florida statute. And I'm looking at a letter from the Florida Elections Commission to you that is outlining a violation of political advertising. And I wonder how you can justify not following the rules for political advertising, or perhaps you don't know them, or perhaps you've chosen to ignore them. Because there's also a second complaint to the same thing.
Okay. First off, did you read my response to that first complaint?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I am human, and an error was made. I admitted to making that error. It came down to, on my thing where it says the political advertisement paid and approved by Margie Eaton. We caught it very quickly. We took care of it very quickly. And I admitted to the fact that I did nothing more than an error. It was not anything about not knowing the rules, because I sent them all the documentation of my prior things that had that disclaimer on it. The second one I have responded to, and my understanding was that they were not public until I received a response, but that was for someone who placed something on their Facebook, who obviously supports me, and on her Facebook she put a picture of me and said, vote for Margie, she'll do a great job. It is neither approved nor paid for by me, so the disclaimer does not belong on there. And if you go on, and I'm sure if anybody has Facebook or anything like that, you can go on there on any given day and find something that somebody has put about another candidate that does not have disclaimer. I'm not going to put the disclaimer on it because I'm not paying for it and I'm not approving it. So thank you.
Two short questions. This gentleman here, and then he's first, and then you. Go ahead, son. You got a high closing, son. You got a question?
My question is, if you're running for supervisor election, what efforts do you intend to put forward to improve the process for reaching those who are undereducated, who cannot reach you in the educated field?
You need to get out into the community. You need to come to the meetings like you all have. You need to get out not only to the schools, but you need to go to places that you wouldn't think are the average places.
My question is, what efforts are you putting, what will you put out?
Those are what I will put out. I mean, I already told my family if I get this position, it is not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a Monday through Friday. You know, I go to some of the, like, farmers markets and things like that and talk to people. You've got to talk to people. You've got to reach out to them. Go to meetings that the communities have, that the different, you know, there's so many of them out there. And if you don't get to them, then these are people that you're losing, that you're going to miss. And you have to get out there. And like I said, and if it's 3 nights a week, then it's 3 nights a week, because that's your job. You are a public servant. You serve the public, not just the public between the hours of 8 and 5. And to me, it's so important, because when I was at the farmers market in Claremont before the primary, how many people I talked to that thought because they weren't Republican or Democrat that they couldn't vote in the primary. And I'd be, oh, no, you can do this, you can do that. And these are people that that we're not reaching. So we've got to do whatever it is we have to do to reach them. And hopefully, you know, different groups will contact the office and say, will you come speak to us? Will you come to our meetings? Because, of course, we can't know everything that's going on. But let them contact us and get out there and talk to them. And I think that'll be a great help. You know, you'll probably never reach 100%, but you've got to try to do your very best.
Thank you. Last question.
Okay, this is geared toward the school personnel. Well, that's been 36 years, 20 years as a teacher, 16 as a principal. What I'm concerned about, although you talk about minority, there are too many on the campus side. But what I want to know, what specific plan, once it's too late now, I guess, the specificity for addressing the problems of dropout among Latinos and black folk. That's a bigger problem. I look at it, I've been out almost 18 years, but I still keep up. And I look at it and I see to me it's getting worse. Now, the school board, do you have any plans to address parents? Because I hear one of the board members who coming home for that from everybody. That's a big job. I mean, Chrysler Corporation back in the day when I was working gave us money, you know, to get parents to come out. You know, you can get out of there. You can move back up, you have to come out, but sometimes it's tough, you know, to get parents involved. So you got some habits that you're going to use. Try it. Because you're minorities, I mean, too many of them, not all, but too many of them losing them. Look, I get it.
Johnson, you're taking up our time.
All right, go ahead. We got to get out of here. I'm on the board of the library. We got to get out of here.
We have put in programs that, in our graduation rate, and I don't know all the statistics like some of the other board members, but they have been getting better. We're up to 82-point-something graduation rate, which is not great, because everybody should be graduating with either ready to go to work or go on to college, and not have to take remedial classes once they get to college. But we have implemented different programs like AVID, which is helping those in the lower quartile to have individual help from teachers. We have got STEM, which goes to science, technology, engineering, and math, which picks up some of those kids that would not stay in school if they didn't have something they were interested in. We've got the Career Academies, so we've gone from 19 to 40 over the last 3 years, in working with our local businesses and our chambers and educators, finding out what the niche is in this county and who they need to be the workforce. So we're doing our academies that go along with whatever is coming into town. Like we have we're going to have people being taught how to be electricians, do poles and stuff in Leesburg. I'm sure you've heard about that. Ms. Brandenburg can go on about that. But we have been addressing the different needs of the kids. It's not just sit behind a desk anymore and do your math, reading, science, whatever it is. Because we are in that technology moving forward, we have been working with all of those groups to find out what they need to keep them in school and keep them active and give them...
Now, parents involved in this?
We're going to have to cut,
yes, sir.
because we only have like 4 to 6 minutes. We want you to do the closing, but go ahead, Ms. Brandenburg.
Okay. 2 things. One is Leesburg High School. In years past, Leesburg High School dropped a letter grade because of their lower quartile students not making gains. I am thrilled to tell you that at Leesburg High School, last year it was 34% of the lower quartiles did not pass. This year it's 64%. Leesburg High School is no longer going to get docked a letter grade because they're lower quartile. What are they doing over there? They have before school and after school tutoring. They have the administrators have each adopted 20 students that they work with on a daily basis to say, John, how did you do on your math test? You know, Bernie, how did you do on this? Mary, how did you do on that? There are great strides being made. With regards to all of our academies, we have students who are getting industry certification before they graduate from high school, becoming certified nursing assistants, getting their CAD. We have it's the Power Academy that Leesburg has given a $220,000 grant to Leesburg High School. These are students that can get an industry certification and become linemen. They can graduate from high school and start making $40,000 a year. So we are doing so much more. Our graduation rate has improved 13% over the last 6 years. Our dropout rate continues to decrease. We are not there yet, but I'm telling you that it is a major focus of mine to continue to do everything we can so that every child knows that they need to stay in school, graduate, have an industry certification, and decide what they want to do post-high school.
Thank you. At this point, come on. Let's make it quick. We try to be fair.
Well, I think that, as you all know, I think parent involvement is one of the most priorities. And I think that most of the students, that what prevents them from learning is their classroom attitude. And it's important that the school district needs to communicate with the parents and with the students when they're young. And then we need to start at the elementary school level and continue to reinforce the importance of education, and continue throughout the middle school and continue throughout the high school. I know our school district is doing a lot of great things, but I think that we need to look at the communication level between the parents and the school district. I believe that there are two different perceptions there. And so we need to make sure that both parties understand the requirements, the expectations of what it's going to take. So communication is very important.
I can do it 15 seconds.
Good.
One is uniforms, and the other one is one-to-one computer per child. Mooresville, North Carolina, 92% graduation for Hispanic and Black, 93% graduation for white, because they had one computer. Each child had their own laptop from 3rd grade through 12th grade for 6 years. It took them a while, but they got to work. They basically closed the gap completely.
Thank you. At this point, we're going to have the closing. Obviously, you don't have a minute and a half. Please make it as quick as you possibly can. We're going to start with Ms. Lee because she only got the opportunity to answer one question. Come on, Ms. Lee.
Well, in closing, I would just like to ask you to please consider voting for me. Again, I am a write-in candidate, so you would have to write my name in. And I do have the information in the back, so please come see me. I will give you the information you need. But one thing that I want you to know is that having been in this county as long as I have, working for the school board, working part-time at Disney for the last 11 years, the one thing is that I can empathize with every hard-working person in this county. And another thing that is very important to me, and the reason that I want to come forward at this time and do my civic duty and serve the public, is because I want this county to thrive. I want everyone in this county to thrive. And that's why I'm doing this, is because with an empathetic person in your property appraiser's office, I think it would go a long way to inviting the companies to move back in and re-establish themselves in this county. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Eaton, quick. Thank you.
I will make it very quick. I just want to let everyone know that I do have back on the table, I have some literature so that you can read a little bit about me. It has a telephone number on it if you have any questions that you want to ask that we don't have time for tonight. And my whole thing is I think it's time to bring a new perspective into the office, to update the website that I was talking about is not $1 million thing. It's rather inexpensive. And so if you would please get the information and consider me on November 6th, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Ms. Stegall.
If I am reelected, I will continue to spend your tax dollar wisely, conduct honest, fair, impartial, transparent elections, work smart, and always strive to do more for less. And remember to check my qualifications when you go to vote. Thank you.
Mr. Miller.
If elected, we will have school uniforms and technology is key to helping all kids learn. Every kid needs a device. We don't know which homeless kid is going to be the next Bill Gates.
If you ask me the most important duty of a county commissioner, I'd say it's to help people. I don't know how many of you know Pastor Michael Watkins of the Friendship AME Church in Tavares, but their church was expanding their fellowship hall. They had a landscape ordinance issue that was very burdensome and expensive for his church. He's a friend of mine. He called me. We had a meeting. And you know what? I took it to the county commission and we changed the landscape ordinance. And that, you know, that's the kind of county commissioner that I try to be. No matter who you are, you can call me and I'll help you when I can. Secondly, I just want to tell you this, that every year our county commission has sponsored the Martin Luther King Jr. Annual celebration. We're in a lot of budget cuts, but I believe it's very important in our community that our commission continue to support that. And I pledge to you my continued support for the county commission's involvement in that. Lastly, I run a clean campaign. I have not disparaged my opponent in any way, shape, or form, and I just will leave it at that. Thank you.
Ms. Love.
In the last 9 years, I have been very visible in our school district, and if elected, I will continue to do so because I think that it's important that we know and we understand the environment that we serve. Our teachers, our parents, our students, and our community. And so at this time, I hope that I'm asking for your help to prepare our students for the future because we do need to improve the proficiency. We need more funding for our classrooms. We need to improve teachers' morale. And most importantly of all, we need positive school climate and that we also need to make sure that the policies we set in place are consistently reinforced. So I hope to get your support on November 6th.
Mr. Odette.
Listen, good evening. Just in closing, I want to say again, my name is Michael Odette. I need your vote on November 6th. I'm not a career politician. I'm running because our country's in trouble, and I think we have to do something about it. This might be the first generation where our children don't have the opportunity that we had when we grow up. It's always improved every generation. It's not going in that direction at this time. You know, we just passed a $16 trillion debt, our national debt. It's going up $4 billion every day. We've got to take our country back. And we've got a lot of politicians for a long time.
Move the country forward.
We got to move the country
Move it
Back
forward.
from where?
Going back.
Back from
Do you think that part out, lady?
Whatever you run.
So let's see.
Correct. From here out, we got to take it forward.
I agree with that part alone. You do what you got to do for the commission or whatever it is. That's your incident. I'll be like those people at the health care. You know, okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead and do what you got right now.
I'm concerned for our country, and I want to do my share to do what I can. I'm not a career politician. I'm 59 years old. Give me one term. I'm going to vote to reduce spending. I'm going to do what's necessary to take our country back. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Take me back. I don't want to go back to slavery.
Again, thank you for inviting me to be here tonight. I am running for mayor of the city of Fruitland Park. The mayor is an elected position. He has no more authority than an actual city commissioner. And in working with the 4 other commissioners, we need to develop a plan and a direction for Fruitland Park to go in and not wait and devise a plan to the next commission meeting. We need a 5 to 10 year plan to see where we're going, to make our goals, and we need to get there. And that's the only way to do it is by forming a plan, implementing the plan. Thank you very much for your time on that.
Mr. Hurley.
I just remind you, don't forget to come out to Truman's. We just tall guys.
said big guy too?
Yeah, there's Williams back there, he's a tall guy, we fit him up in a couple of rooms. Listen, you know what, I'm proud of one thing, and that is my community involvement and my community service that my parents instilled in me. My parents instilled in me, it's not only my obligation to God and my family, but to my community. I'm proud of my service. I spent 15 years as a police officer right here in Lake County. I worked in every area from mowing the yard as a little kid in my church to any other aspect of it you want to work at. And then as I got older, I'm right now president-elect for the Lake Sumter Boys and Girls Club. Been on that board for 7 years. I served as president of the Lake County Gator Club, raising money for children to go and be able to get scholarships who couldn't afford to go to college. You just pick something. Habitat for Humanity, I built houses I didn't get to live in. I have worked because I care about my community, and I'm proud of my community and what God has enabled me to be able to do. I want to take my blessings and the benefits that I've been able to learn as a young man from people who were older and wiser than me and be able to bring that to the community that I live and serve. I believe that where you're from is a little bit important. I believe the most important thing is where you're going. So I'm trying to focus on where we're going and not where I'm from, and I want to do something good for the community. The Bible is true, and it still holds a lot of facts. And one of the things the Word of God says is this: without a vision, the people perish. And if you don't have one, you're going to be in trouble. So I'm trying to focus this community, this little commission, get us a vision together that we can all work towards, and let's continue moving forward.
Brandenburg.
Hey. I was honored to be elected 4 years ago to the Lake County School Board District 2. As the incumbent, people continue to compliment me on always being prepared for the workshops and school board meetings. I have been blessed to be endorsed by the Teachers Union and the Service Employees Union. I made a promise to you 4 years ago to get involved with my schools, and I encourage you to ask my schools if I've been supportive of them, and I know that they will tell you yes. I ask you to decide if you want your school board member to only be concerned with school uniform and iPads for all students, with no funding going to construction and new schools, or one that is focused on the big picture. I kindly ask for your vote on November 6th for Sam Brandenburg. Thank you.
Ms. Simon.
And I'm going to make this real quick.
Good.
Good. This is a county-wide election. We have to live in the district in which we run for. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. It's nonpartisan and it's county-wide, so you'll see all of our names on there, and you just need to pick one of us. I also was endorsed by Cheryl Thomas. I said that earlier. She was running for office and did a very good job. And on the letter that she sent me, it said that our philosophies were identical almost in the way that we wanted to make our passion for students, our passion for education, going forward, not going backwards, Mr. Johnson. And the only difference we had was the uniform issue. So the Lake County Education Foundation also, not Education Foundation, the Education Association endorsed me, the Teachers Union, and the Firefighters for Lake County. All of those endorsements, all that says is that I have been a busy bee. My entire 40 years that I've been in office or been working for the government or working with my kids at their school, I roll up my sleeves and I do the job. I am not one to sit behind a desk. I will be on top of a roof helping somebody take the roof down if it needs to happen. So I just want you to know that I am definitely a worker. Thank you.
Thank you, that was great. Mr. Howard.
Well, first, many of y'all, I hope, know a lot of folks in Fruitland Park, because there's not a lot of them here tonight. For those of you here in Leesburg do know me, Lewis, Mr. Johnson, y'all know the commitment I have made as a police officer here in Leesburg to all members of this community. I want to make that same commitment to the members of the Fruitland Park community. The biggest thing I pledge is to make any decisions for the good of everybody, not just for the good of one or two. And I'm afraid that's what's been made. The decisions of the Fruitland Park have been made for the good of one or two. Those days have got to go. We can't have that any longer. I want to work hard for the city of Fruitland Park as I have for the city of Leesburg. Please call anybody you know in the city of Fruitland Park. Vote for Mike Howard for commissioner for the tourism.
Again, my name is Jim Richardson. I'm running for City Commissioner Group 2. There's 8 candidates total in Fruitland Park running for Mayor, Group 2, and Group 3. There's only 3 of us here tonight. Neither one of us are running against each other. We've got some serious problems in Fruitland Park, and we need serious people to deal with those problems. We need to move forward, and we need real change. And the only way we're going to get real change is to change our commission. And I'm asking for your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to have some closing remarks from our president, Ms. Sandy Jones, the principal. And we're going to tell you about the next public forum, which is going to be October 22nd, next Monday at the Eustis Recreational Center. Everybody's invited.
We have a school board meeting that night.
And I swear, Louis,
I'll tell you what, if you come late, we will accommodate you.
I swore I saw something today that's going to be the 25th.
No, 22nd. This is the Friday.
Okay.
October 22nd, Tuesday.
All right, well, we do have a school board meeting.
So we will accommodate you if you can come late.
But that's all right, the rest of us can talk longer.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. We are grateful and appreciative for your involvement. Let me simply say that down through the years, the only time we would get to see candidates would be at a banquet that Tri City was having. I'm not talking about the previous one we had that was so successful, but our goals and objectives are still the same, and you are here. This is the second time, and we are expecting to see you a third time. And let me say thank you. And we will share what we've learned tonight. During my lunch period today, a group of teachers said, I was inviting them, and they said, just go and ask one question. And this is the question that Mrs. Manning asked, and now I can go back and share your opinion about the anticipated, desire to say the percentage of African Americans that will receive proficiency on our LCAT. Thank you for your support. Let me say to each of you, if we can ever do anything for you, let us know. We are also nonpartisan, but we are here. We believe in the power of the vote, and we know that it's important. And thank you for what you are doing for our community, and we will see you at our next forum. Thank you very much. And thank you to our Vice President.
I thank all of you candidates and wish you the best in your campaign and your attempts to represent us. God bless you. God bless you others as well. If you didn't sign in, you can still sign in at the front. Don't forget to pay your $20.